That complicated things, technically. Fresno was a part of the Baron's holdings and his responsibility, but he hadn't been the one to request the court's aid. And to your knowledge, you've never dealt in anything magical? Natalie jolted as if she had been slapped. Everyone in Fresno purchased things from me, has things repaired by me, sells old pieces to me. I'm the only person here who does such a thing, and it took a while to catch on. But it's going well now, she said, swallowing. I have what I have, and buy what I can to try to create pretty things people can afford. I've never sought out magical items, wouldn't even know where to get them. If something magical is floating about Fresno, it's not from my store. Definitely not. August hesitated, and she looked at him desperately, fingers twitching against the counter. You understand how even a rumor that my store could somehow be involved in this could be damaging? August blinked. Of course. I completely understand. I assure you our investigation will be discreet. He took a step back. If you do see anything odd, please let me know. Sometimes magic accidentally gets in places it shouldn't be. She nodded. Do you mind if I buy something? I need a birthday gift. Her smile returned. I never turn down a paying customer. Martin's birthday wasn't for 4 months, but she didn't know that. August perused the item, but kept her face in the corner of his sight. She watched him study the pieces, and as he neared the front of the store, she stiffened. August picked up a ring, and she didn't react. An eyeglass chain, a vase, a bookend. Then the collar pins, and her skin blanched. These, I think. August carried the pins to the counter. They're perfect. Martin would actually love them, but they would have to figure out why they made Natalie react like that before he wore them on the slim chance these were related to the memory loss. It also seemed love was a necessary factor, and since neither of them was entangled in any sort of romance at the moment, Martin's brief flirtation surely didn't count. That added another layer of safety. These old things, she said, laying a hand over them. Are you sure? Absolutely, he said, flashing his most princely smile. Using green glass to represent the leaves and the pearls as grapes is gorgeous, and they'll fit right in at court. She blinked at him and then squared her shoulders. Let me get something to put them in so they don't tangle. She slipped from her stool, ducked behind the counter, moved something by the sound of it, and then reappeared with a small cloth in hand. The rest of their interaction was utterly banal, and August pocketed the collar pins carefully. He left Natalie's with a smile and glanced back through the open door once he was halfway down the street. She had vanished from behind the counter. Martin was in the dining hall of the inn, alone this time, and large books took up the entirety of the table. August joined him. We have a lot to talk about, but first, I've gotten you a gift, August said, and laid the pins on the table. They're a double-edged sword. They look like grapevines to me, said Martin, admiring the pearls. Not that I don't love them, but why did you get them for me? They're from Natalie's shop, so they're more work for us, said August. And don't you have a birthday coming up? So we need to find out where she bought the parts from, said Martin. I'm guessing these interest you for some reason? She acted like she didn't want me to buy these, but would tell me anything about the other pieces. August said and sighed. Here are the town records Blanche gave me, said Martin. Perhaps they'll help. August pulled the nearest book to himself and checked to make sure it was the most recent. Not even tax records are always true, though, unfortunately. August scoured the records for any indication of a sudden windfall or change in fortune, anything out of the ordinary that couldn't be explained. He took note of. One family started paying their taxes on time, but after he looked into it more, it was clear they had inherited that wealth. There was a year of excellent crop yields, but August knew that had been kingdom-wide. There were no disasters or miracles. He couldn't resist peeking at the records for Ella's estate, though. Lady Tremaine had neglected to pay taxes after Ella's father had died, citing a mourning period. She had inherited several properties from Ella's father and purchased more that she also paid taxes for, and it looked like she had raised the rent for most of them in the past few years. The estate should have been doing fine financially. A shadow fell over the book. What are you doing? Ella! August snapped the book shut and turned. What are you doing here? Martin snorted. His back creaked in protest, and August realized he had read through most of the day. Ella had her hair bundled up beneath a kerchief. Damp strands stuck to her neck, and there was a red flush across her face. She sat down next to them, smelling of lye and lavender. Drizella wants poached pears tomorrow as a reward for practicing her music, so I had to come back to town to get some, she said. At the inn? Asked Martin, shooting August a look he didn't care to decipher. No, but I thought... Her gaze drifted over the records they had been studying and then up to Martin's shirt. She nodded to the collar pins. Are those new? They're familiar. I bought them at Natalie's shop, August said. So you got the chance to visit her? Ella asked. Everyone who has lost their memories obtains something from her shop. She didn't want to sell the collar pins either, and she kept glancing behind her counter when I asked about them. She was clearly unnerved by whatever she realized when we were talking. The next thing I think we need to do is read Natalie's ledgers. She said that the Baron is her biggest supplier, and I shall follow up on that. But she was not happy about my asking where she got the supplies for those items. I don't think she was entirely truthful. Softly, Ella asked, It was the flowers on stepmother's shoes that did this to Monsieur Readaloud, wasn't it? Maybe, said August, heartbreaking. We can't know that for sure. Ella's face fell. She took a deep breath, and her lips pursed, the gleam in her eyes shifting from teary to determined. I'll help. What if I distract her while you two sneak around back? Are you sure? August asked. I am. I want to do this. They discussed what they would do as they walked to Natalie's, and August suggested Ella go in while Martin and he went around to listen at the back door of the shop. All right, Ella said, nose wrinkled. I won't push her to share, but I'll try to ask things that might reveal she knows something is wrong. I can't imagine she would have something to do with this. Forgetting loved ones entirely? It's cruel. August and Martin made their way to the back of the store. Natalie had opened the small door in the back and was loading empty boxes into a handcart. She counted them up. Then, glancing around, she pulled a rolled-up slip of paper from her coat and tucked it into one of the boxes. Her hand shook. Natalie? Ella called from inside the building. Are you still here? Coming. Natalie bustled into the building, leaving the cart unguarded and the back door open. August hesitated, and Martin nudged him in the back. August held up his hand. What can I do for you, Ella? Asked Natalie, and August heard the scrape of a stool against the floor. Drizella after a new trinket to draw wealthy, handsome eyes? Ella laughed, close, but not quite. When Natalie distracted, August crept to the cart. Martin followed and kept an eye on the street while August moved toward the letter. Most of the boxes were as empty as they had looked from afar, dinged with little scuffs and nicks from constant use. But in the nearest box sat a pile of papers and small packages under a small cloth purse. I've been thinking about Madame Monet and her husband, and how lucky it is that she lost her memories of him while he's away, said Ella softly, as if more to herself than to Natalie. Still, her voice carried. Natalie hummed, and August heard the tap of her fingers. Her nails caught the wood. You've always been such a kind girl. You've always been a kind girl. August opened the purse. There was a good amount of money in it, a little more than what he had paid for the collar pins, and a small box no larger than his palm. The box was tied with string he wouldn't be able to undo and retie quickly, so he left it and fished the scroll free. It was little more than a scrap smeared with a hastily written note. No more. How utterly unhelpful, but so enlightening. Natalie wasn't pleased with whomever she was sending this note to. Was the money their cut of the sales? If it was the Baron, then would she dare speak so plainly to him? August flashed the note at Martin, and he made a face. Investigations like this were never easy. August rolled the note back and replaced it, leaning against the wall so that he could hear inside better. Martin crouched next to him. Something elegant like her mother has. You know, that pendant, so that she looks more mature and regal, said Ella. She mostly only told me moods and said something expensive, so do you have a few things I could show to her? August peeked inside through the door, and beyond the small back room, he watched Natalie's back go ramrod straight. Do you have anything that might go well with green emeralds set in gold? They're earrings. Ella leaned away from the counter and looked around. Green glass, perhaps? Natalie relaxed. Green glass? Like sea glass? Oh, that would be lovely, especially if it's been shaped into something like a dolphin or flower, said Ella, pacing before a shelf. Not a fish, though. I have just the thing, Natalie said. She hopped down and scurried after Ella. She pointed to something August couldn't see. This isn't personal, but it is a lovely piece. Sea glass reshaped to look like a necklace of ivy. Oh! Ella let out a delighted trill. It looks almost magical and glitters. Martin whispered. Not that Natalie would admit to magical conspiracies in this conversation, but that's still a good cue. August nodded. Ella was clever and kind, and wistfulness pinched his heart. I would say good art is a magic all its own, said Natalie, and Martin's snort distracted August from his thoughts. You don't happen to have anything magical, do you? A powder puff that gets rid of spots? A hair ribbon to prevent hair loss? Said Ella. She was exquisite, asking things to get them a little more information. No, nothing like that. I imagine I'd be the richest person in town if I did. August leaned forward into the building. The counter was littered with tools and scraps, and a large account's book rested near the stool. A pair of scissors sat on top of it, and August slowly crept farther into the doorway, stepping lightly so as not to rattle the stool's contents. Natalie had taken the empty box from the shelf some time after he left. It was closed and hidden under the counter now. Oh, Ella said. What's this? Natalie whistled and scurried over to Ella. Now that's an interesting story. Natalie started explaining the history of a cameo. August slunk inside, keeping an eye on Natalie's back. Ella was facing him, keeping Natalie's attention on her, and Martin began going through the little crates and baskets used to repair and make trinkets. August went through the accounts stored beneath the counter. Well, given the nature of everything, I was thinking I could get something for Lady Tremaine, as well to remember my father if the worst comes to pass, said Ella. He gave her the green earrings, you see, and a set might be nice. Lady Tremaine? Natalie stilled. You want to buy something for her? Yes, for her. That was another odd reaction. I don't think I have anything in line with Lady Tremaine's taste, Natalie said slowly, thinking over each word. Unfortunately. I see, Ella hummed, fingers on a green vase. I thought her emerald pendant was from you. Natalie swallowed audibly. Yes, however, I was lucky with that one, and at the moment, I don't think I have anything that would please her. She can't be so particular, I know, said Ella gently, reaching out to touch Natalie's arm. August returned his attention to Natalie's accounts. The entries looked remarkably accurate, including even his recent purchase of the collar pins. Next to the entry was an odd notation of 4 unconnected lines, as if someone had drawn an X and removed the center that he had never seen in any of his accounting lessons. He scanned the last few pages, and her notation system looked like most others he had seen, save for that single mark. He couldn't figure out what it meant. Then he found it again, marking Monsieur Monet's purchase of his wife's locket. Natalie had recorded every single detail about the sale. The time and cost of using an old locket to create 2 new necklaces, the price for finding a painter for the portraits, and even the minuscule amount she charged for a decorative box to gift it in. The mark was only next to the final price that Natalie had charged, and so far as August could tell, it didn't reference any other information she had recorded. He could find every bit of information about the necklaces, except what the mark meant, and where Natalie had purchased the original locket, in fact. "Martin," August whispered, flipping through the pages and skimming each line. "She records everything about what she repairs, makes, and sells. But look, there's this mark next to the collar pins, the Monet's necklaces, and the gloves Madame Renaud bought. I cannot find it referenced anywhere else, and I also cannot find where the pieces she reworked to make them are from. The pearls and chain from the collar pins, the original locket, and the metal used in the gloves were all unaccounted for." Martin looked over the accounts, brow furrowing. "I see the sales for Henry's cane and Blaise and Madame Bardin's rings, but I don't see where she got the materials from. That's because, unlike everything else she sold, there's no recording of that," said August. "And she marked those with this notation too." "I can guess where the records went." Martin ran a thumb down the center of the book. "There are pages missing." August yanked the book up and peered into the dip of the spine. Martin was right. August had missed it in his haste to read the entries, but there was a cleanly cut page. August glanced through the earlier pages and found slivers of paper where more pages had been fully removed. "She was cutting out pages," said August. "That's what the scissors were for." She had clearly wanted to hide her removal of them. August peeked over the counter. Ella was still distracting Natalie, but the slant in the woman's shoulders implied it wouldn't work for much longer. "Every single sale related to the memory loss is marked by this notation, but a few other sales are too," said August. "We need to find those missing pages and these other items." The notation marked the sales of the collar pins, the cane, the gloves, the rings, the lockets, something labeled only as Emble, to Monsieur Readaloud, a basket for Monsieur Pickard, and 2 odd entries that had no sale prices at all, as if Natalie had given 2 items away. 7 sales, 2 gifts, and 9 entries in total, with the odd 4-line mark. August placed the book back where it had been and left with Martin. They waited for Ella around the corner. Soon enough, she emerged from the shop with a small ribbon in hand. "I couldn't leave with nothing," she said. "So, did you find anything?" Everyone who lost their memories purchased something from her that she marked with a unique notation, and unlike all her other items, she didn't record where she got those items and their parts. She said that the Baron of Ghent sold her most of what she used from his travels, but she cut out some pages from her accounts. She's hiding something. Ella sighed, sadly tucking the new ribbon away. "I was really hoping Natalie wasn't involved. Maybe it's an accident." "Maybe," said August, though he was doubtful. "We need to find out more about the Baron, I think. We can't show up and immediately act as though we suspect him of something," said Martin. "True," August muttered. "I could still ask for a meeting and see what he says. Ella, what are you doing tomorrow?" She hesitated. "Some chores. More than usual. Oliver will be teaching my stepsisters, so I'll have the day to get more done." And Oliver had no idea that Ella was family and not a maid. "Let me help you with chores," August nudged her gently. "The Baron most likely won't get back to us until past noon, and I need a less somber sounding board to discuss Natalie with." "Lady Tremaine is the only other noble in the town," said Martin. "It might be useful to talk to her." August and Ella shook their heads. He wanted to figure out why Ella wasn't telling Oliver who she was, and if the others who did know were privy to how much work she was doing. But he never, ever wanted to speak with Lady Tremaine again after that letter. "She won't talk to you, and trust me, she doesn't know anything. She never comes into town. She only knows about the memory loss because of Madame Monet," said Ella. She looked at August. "I don't think she knows the Baron of Ghent well, But I could find out. If you want to help me with my errands, I won't stop you. I'll see you at dawn then, August said, and smiled. There were 2 mysteries in this town he was determined to solve, and Ella's estate was one of them.